All right, in this video I'm going to talk about 5 profound spiritual truths which are elucidated in the movie The Matrix. Now, The Matrix is one of my all-time favorite movies. I love this movie. I've seen it probably 5 times, and it's something that I could watch every few years and still gain new meaning and insight because it's really rich and layered with depth and insight. So the first spiritual truth I'd like to talk about is how Maya, this Sanskrit word which basically means illusion, is related directly to the Matrix. So in the movie The Matrix, the people have been enslaved by the machines and they don't realize it, but they're living in a fantasy world. They're living in a world that's been created by computers. And so they're basically being used for their energy, and they think that the world that they see, the world that they live in, is real, but in fact it's an illusion. And so this points to the ancient traditions in the Vedas, which talk about Maya as being illusory, this sort of veil of illusion that's placed over our eyes which keeps us from seeing the truth. And what is the truth? Well, I'll talk about that a little further. But this is just an insight that we can use just right here and now, because so often we just accept that the world presented to us is reality. But how often have we changed and shifted our perceptions of what reality is based on new insights that we get? We think we understand the world in a certain way, but then we understand things at a deeper level and we realize, oh wow, things are not really that way. And so for my own path, for instance, there was a long period of time when I didn't really have any spiritual connection, any recognition of the divine operating within life and within myself. And so I lived more or less as an agnostic. And as I began to awaken spiritually, I started to realize experientially some of the profound truths that this world is not what I thought, that actually the divine is imbued into every aspect of this world. We're actually living in a matrix of divine energy, that everything in this entire experience of life is built on this framework of connectivity and energetic unity. And so this is my own experience and realization, so I'm not trying to project it onto you or saying you should think or feel this way, but it's something that I've come to realize through my own experience. And it's a total shift. It's a complete transformation of how one experiences life when they awaken to the depth of God being imbued into every cell of our body, into every fabric of our entire existence. And so the second core realization that I'd like to talk about is that there's a cost to this truth. There's a cost to freedom. Just as Morpheus talks about, and just as he offers, the red pill and the blue pill to Neo and tells him, I'm only offering you the truth, nothing more. And so this is a bitter pill to swallow oftentimes, because what does Neo realize when he awakens? When he realizes that, oh my God, everything I thought was real is actually false. It's all a lie. And yes, I'm free now. I'm no longer a slave living in a pod, experiencing computer generated imagery, and everything is false, everything is fake, and I'm being used for my energy. I'm living as a slave. But the freedom came with a cost, right? Because it wasn't just paradise that he awoke into. It was actually an incredible battle, a life and experience of deep strife and challenge, and having to fight for your very existence. And so while I'm not suggesting that that's exactly what this is like when we awaken to a deeper spiritual realization, but there definitely is a cost to it. And we have to examine this in the light of our experience and realize that just because we've awoken to a deeper spiritual understanding and reality doesn't mean that everything's going to be easy. Far from it. Oftentimes, this is when life really starts to challenge us more and more, and we have to lean into that truth that we've awoken to and call upon it for encouragement to allow us to be able to soldier on and, follow our deepest intuitions, follow our, best heart-centered understanding, and live life according to our deepest values rather than according to the values that the Matrix puts forth. Right? Which is often kind of based on materialism and competition and comparison and things like that. So yes, we awaken to the truth, we awaken to a much more profound and rich experience of life, but it is far from being easy. So That's number two. Now, number three is that also illusion is seductive. Think about Cypher, the guy who sold them all out, who said, I'd rather go back to the Matrix than live this life of freedom. He was so angry and resentful at Morpheus for awakening him, and all he wanted to do was escape the reality. He wanted to go back to slavery. And so this is also something that can happen and something we need to be mindful of as we grow on our spiritual journey, that it is so easy to slip back into our old way of thinking and way of seeing. And in fact, oftentimes everything we experience, everyone we encounter is still living in the Matrix, and they are trying to pull us back into that way of seeing, the way of, comparing ourselves to others as a way of, defining ourselves, whether we're good enough or not good enough, whether we're worthy or not worthy. This sense of competition that's constantly keeping us feeling like we have no comrades in life, but we're surrounded by enemies. We're surrounded by, this urge and this need to get up on someone else rather than enjoying life. Not to say that we shouldn't grow. We should definitely grow. Life is growth. If we're not growing, we are experiencing entropy and we're dying. But, just because we're growing doesn't mean we need to push another person down in order to feel good about ourselves and lift ourselves up. So that's the third spiritual truth, is that the seductive power of the Matrix is incredibly strong. And we need to be very mindful because we're going to get pulled back in. There's no question about it. Awakening isn't a one-time process. It's an ongoing revelation. It's a complete transformation of how you live. And it must be cultivated with spiritual practices like meditation and prayer, body transformation practices like yoga and Tai Chi and things, so that we can actually have the machinery to live and embody this truth and deal with the challenges from the highest place instead of getting sucked back in to our old way of seeing, which is so easy. It's comfortable. And again, it's what everyone almost that we encounter, almost everyone in this world is under the illusion of Maya, is still caught in the Matrix, as they talk about. So the fourth spiritual lesson that I wanted to mention is the young monk, when Neo goes to meet the Oracle and he's bending the spoon, and he tells Neo, don't try to bend the spoon. That would be impossible. Realize that you are the one that bends, right? And there is no spoon. And this points to the realization that all is one, that there are not separate things out there that we manipulate and control. From the highest realization, everyone you encounter is your own self at the deepest level. Everything that you encounter and experience is imbued with this same self-energy. And when we approach life in this way, and it is very challenging to live this way, again, the Matrix wants to pull us back into that old way of seeing things. And so when we can greet another and look into their eyes and see them as our own self, this is a complete revelation. It's a complete revolution of the former way that we have lived. And this doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily have supernatural powers just because you see the truth. This is another illusion. And this is where the movie sort of airs. There are a lot of people who are seeking these powers through their spiritual practices, seeking to gain these spiritual cities, as they're called. And this is a seductive path that will lead to destruction, according to all of the great masters. They've all warned against this. They say, if these abilities arise, you should not attach to them. You should certainly not seek after them. And if you attach to them, it can be your demise, because you'll start to take ownership of them. Oh, I am doing this. I am so great. I have this ability and this power that makes me special. And again, this is a seductive path that will ultimately lead to our downfall. So things to be mindful of. And then the final, fifth profound spiritual truth is that beliefs do shape our experience of reality. Think about when the Oracle spoke to Neo at the end of their conversation, and she said, no, sorry, pal. Sorry, kid. You got the talent, but you're just not, it seems like you're waiting for something, right? So sorry, you're not the one. And that was the message for him. He wasn't supposed to share that with anyone else. But it was a reflection of his own inner doubt, his self-doubt. He didn't believe he was good enough to be that one. And so his experience reflected that, until through further experience and leaning into his capacity with the utmost sincerity and intensity that he was able to reveal the depth of power which was in him. So his beliefs shifted, and then his experience of life shifted, and his capacity shifted along with it. So again, this isn't saying that you're going to develop magical powers or be able to manifest whatever you want. There's a lot of teachers out there who are selling that, and whether they realize it or not, they are liars, because nothing can guarantee future outcomes. It doesn't matter what you believe, and I know this is a harsh truth. Some people don't want to hear this. Some people are already pressing the skip button or whatever, or Xing out of this video because they don't want to hear that. It's a very seductive and shiny thing to dangle in front of someone that, oh, I have the answers. I've created this thing. I've created this amazing life. I've manifested all of these things, and I can show you how to do exactly the same thing. You just need to follow this prescription that I'll set forth for you. Now, many of them are well-meaning, so I'm not trying to denigrate them, but they don't realize, or they're not being fully honest, that there is no prescription which will guarantee outcomes in your life. And the more we can accept this, the sooner we accept it, the much less suffering we'll experience. Because, it was said in a book I read years ago, it was the happiness equation, where the man put forth this equation of happiness which stated that life minus your expectations equals happiness. And so if we're placing our sense of happiness and fulfillment on certain outcomes, we're bound to be disappointed. Now again, this doesn't mean you shouldn't go for your goals. You should absolutely go for your goals. Go for them with gusto, with everything that you have. There are still many things that you can learn from these teachers who talk about these powers of manifestation and things. But what I'm offering to you is a deeper truth. There is no guarantee. There isn't. So this doesn't mean that you shouldn't go for it. Again, it doesn't mean you shouldn't follow their prescriptions, because they may be helpful. They may make it more likely for you to attain those things. It may be much more likely if you follow their prescriptions, if you visualize your outcomes, if you take bold action, if you create a vision board, and if you're doing things to move towards your goals every day, including eliminating your negative self-beliefs, your negative self-identity, transforming the way that you feel and think about who you are and what's possible for you. All of that can help. But again, it is no guarantee. The only guarantees in life are this. If you let go of your expectations, you will experience freedom. If you let go of your sense of control, your false belief that you are in control of the matrix, of Maya, you will be free. So the truth is available, and the truth will set you free. But it's no guarantee that you're going to achieve whatever it is that you set out to achieve. So again, I encourage you to do everything within your power to move towards your goals, to try to attain becoming the one, which is really the highest, most authentic self that you can possibly attain to, your ideal state in life, what you envision for yourself as the best that you can possibly become and offer this world. You should absolutely go for that. That should be your goal, but not necessarily believing that the acquisition of that goal will lead to specific outcomes, because you'll be setting yourself up for disappointment. And you'll also be perpetuating a cycle whereby even if you attain the goals, when you have that mindset, they won't satisfy you. You won't be fulfilled, and you'll miss life. Life happens in the here and now. Life happens in the moment. It's not a future-oriented thing. I'm recalling a quote by John Lennon, which says something like, life is what happens while we're, I can't remember the exact quote. Something like, basically what he's saying is that we miss life. Life happens here and now, but we end up missing it because we're chasing future outcomes. So I encourage you to be here now, embody this moment, and when you're doing and working towards your goals, don't lose your sense of being. You can do both, but it's so easy to get lost in doing and doing and doing and trying to create that outcome, and you miss the moment, you miss the richness of life. Life can only be experienced here and now, and joy and happiness and your beingness is not a future-orientated thing. It happens right here, right now, and if we continue chasing, we miss that richness. And we get to the end of our lives and look back, and it went so fast. And we realize this whole life experience is just a blip on the radar of eternity. Just a blip. 70 years, 100 years, maybe as technology advances, 150 years, 200 years of your life. But on the backdrop of eternity and infinity, it's infinitesimally small. So I think that the best way to live is to enjoy each moment to the fullest, to enjoy your work, to enjoy your play, to enjoy your time alone, to enjoy your time with others. But when we're trying to control and seek future outcomes, we're not enjoying life. We have to let go of that control. When we let go of the control, which is an illusion, we don't actually have much control over anything. When we let go of that control, we experience the freedom and the richness, which is our birthright, which is inherently only felt and experienced right here, right now. So I'll leave you with that. Thanks so much for watching. If you would like to share your own experience or your own realizations from this movie, or any comments about what I've shared, I'd love to hear about it. Just drop a comment below or reach out to me. I'd love to, continue this conversation. And again, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I wish you a happy new year and many blessings to you as you progress and traverse this incredible path we call life.